In the world of commercial real estate, the agreement for lease is a fundamental document that lays the groundwork for a successful landlord-tenant relationship. Our today's topic dwells into the intricacies of typical agreements for lease for commercial properties, providing examples and scenarios to illustrate their practical applications. Definitions and purpose of a typical agreement for lease. A typical agreement for lease is a legally binding contract between a commercial property landlord and a prospective tenant. Its primary purpose is to set out the core terms and conditions of the lease, to be executed upon fulfilling certain conditions stipulated in the agreement. It acts as a safeguard for both parties during the pre-lease period, providing clarity and ensuring their interests are protected. Key elements of typical agreement for lease.
1.
Identifying the parties and property description. The agreement should explicitly identify parties involved, including the landlord and tenant, along with their respective legal representatives. Additionally, it must provide a comprehensive description of the commercial property, including its location, size, and unique features.
Example:
this agreement for lease is made and entered into on a particular date between ABC Properties Limited, that's the landlord, and XYZ Enterprise Inc., that's the tenant, for a commercial property located at XYZ address.
2.
Lease commencement and duration. The agreement should clearly define the lease commencement date and the duration of the lease. This period can be fixed term, periodic, or subject to specific conditions.
Example:
the term of this lease shall commence on the commencement date and continue for a period of XYZ years or months, subject to any extensions as specified in the extension clause.
3. Rent and payment terms. The agreement should outline the rent amount, payment frequency, and any other financial considerations, such as service charges, maintenance costs, and rent reviews. Example: the tenant shall pay the landlord a monthly rent amount, in advance on or before the rent due date of each month, subject to an annual rent review as per section, rent review clause. 4. Conditions precedent. Agreements for lease often include conditions that must be fulfilled before the lease can be executed. These may involve obtaining necessary licenses, planning permissions, or completion of specific construction works. Example: the effectiveness of this agreement is subject to the landlord obtaining planning permission for the proposed alterations as outlined in section, Planning Permission Clause. 5. Tenant's obligations. The agreement should specify the tenant's responsibilities during the pre-lease period, such as undertaking construction works, securing necessary licenses, or complying with any conditions precedent. Example: the tenant shall be responsible for obtaining all required permits and licenses for the proposed fit-out works, as detailed in section, Fit-out Obligations Clause. 6. Landlord's obligations. Similarly, the landlord's obligations, such as completing construction or renovation works, should be clearly outlined in the agreement. Example: the landlord shall ensure that the commercial property is in a good state of repair and compliance with all relevant regulations at the commencement of the lease, as detailed in section, Landlord's Repair Obligations Clause. 7. Insurance and indemnity. Provisions for insurance coverage and indemnity should be included to protect both parties from unforeseen events or damages. Example: the tenant shall maintain adequate insurance coverage for the commercial property, and indemnify the landlord against any claims or liabilities arising from its use, as specified in section, Insurance and Indemnity Clause. Section 3, Scenarios and Practical Applications. Scenario 1, Condition Precedent for Planning Permission. Suppose a tenant plans to undertake substantial interior alterations to the commercial property to suit their business needs. In this scenario, the agreement for lease might include a condition precedent that states the lease will only be executed once the tenant obtains the necessary planning permission from the local authority for the proposed alterations. Scenario 2: Fit-out obligations for tenant. When a tenant intends to conduct significant fit-out works in the commercial property before commencing their business operations, the agreement for lease should detail the tenant's fit-out obligations. This might include adherence to building codes, obtaining building permits, and completing the fit-out works in a timely manner. Scenario 3: Landlord's repair obligations. In cases where the commercial property requires maintenance and repair works before the tenant occupies it, the agreement for lease should clearly outline the landlord's obligations to ensure the property is in a satisfactory condition at the lease commencement. Section 4: Importance of professional legal advice. Drafting a typical agreement for lease for a commercial property requires careful consideration and expert legal advice. Engaging a skilled property solicitor can help ensure that the document complies with all relevant laws, mitigates potential risks, and accurately reflects the intentions of both parties. Conclusion: a typical agreement for lease for commercial properties serves as a critical document that sets the stage for a successful lease arrangement. By clearly defining key terms and conditions, specifying conditions precedent, and outlining each party's obligations, this agreement enhances transparency, reduces misunderstandings, and protects the interests of both landlords and tenants. Understanding the significance of this preliminary step in commercial property transactions can lead to a smoother and more successful lease relationship. As demonstrated through various examples and scenarios, a well-drafted agreement for lease ensures that all parties are aligned, facilitating a beneficial and mutually satisfactory lease agreement. If you found this information helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more insightful real estate content. If you have any questions or need further clarification, leave a comment below, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy investing, and take care. At KingSize _commercial real estate.